everybody. My name is Rebecca Milzoff. I'm the executive editor for features at Billboard. Thanks so much for joining us today. At a time when success in the music industry is more visually driven than ever before, dance-centric visuals in particular can propel songs up the charts and can totally change the course of an artist's career. Yet where compensation is concerned, choreographers, unlike their creative counterparts such as producers, have historically been treated essentially as temporary hires and not as creators or authors in their own right. But the two gentlemen with me today are trying to change that and making great strides. Jaquel Knight is one of the foremost choreographers and creative directors in the industry today. He's worked with an incredibly wide variety of star artists, but he's probably best known for his work with Beyonce, including for her Lemonade and Black is King visual albums, 2 Super Bowls, and the Coachella performances filmed for Netflix as Homecoming. And presently, he's been working a great deal with Megan Thee Stallion and really transforming her stage presence. Attorney David Hecht of Hecht Partners, LLC is an intellectual property veteran who is on Billboard's 2021 Top Music Lawyers list. He became a bit of an expert on the very much still evolving realm of copyright and choreography when he started representing a group of clients who in 2019 alleged that Epic Games had copied and renamed their signature dances for its very popular Fortnite. Together this past fall, Jaquel and David successfully registered for copyright. Jaquel's iconic choreography for Beyonce's Single Ladies Put a Ring on It, in the process making him the very first commercial choreographer to do so. And they are now in the process of registering his entire catalog of choreography for copyright. Thanks so much for coming today, David and Jaquel.
Thank you. Thank you
for having us. Great to see your faces. So to start off, I'd love to hear a bit from both of your standpoints. Why in the first place was pursuing copyright registration for Jaquel's choreography so important? What made you want to go on this very arduous journey to start?
For myself, Rebecca, after working years in the industry, over a decade now, with some of the biggest names, you start to see a flow of how trends and things go, so I guess foremost, this is bigger than, me protecting my work, it's for the wide range of choreographers out there, so the next generation of artists can know that there's a platform that protects them, so they can feel like they have the resources and tools to be able to thrive in the industry, not only creatively, but financially. So, it's way bigger than me, it's for the next Jaquel Knights.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that the impetus for Jaquel and for me in terms of why I advised Jaquel to protect all of his works to the extent possible is because the paradigm has really changed as far as how choreography is used. I mean, we saw kind of the transition through the 20th century of live performances go to music videos, and really with the Epic Games and Fortnite and other games, but to a lesser degree, you see these dances have become some of them are so iconic that they were kind of digitally recreated and duplicated, and so there is a new marketplace for dance. And then there's also TikTok and other short clips that could potentially infringe. And so really kind of getting ahead of the curve and protecting Jaquel's entire library was really important to us. And also because Jaquel is a pioneer. And what he's done, he's really he's been a trailblazer as far as not only articulating what his rights are and telling the other side in negotiation what it is that he can demand, because not only is he that good as far as being a choreographer, but he knows his rights, and that's why I'm here. And instead of, as you said, Rebecca, kind of a day rate, I mean, Jaquel's entitled to a piece of the action as far as we're concerned. Yes, music videos and other things are often collaborations, but certainly one of the most difficult parts of performance is the physical component that Jaquel authors and tutors the various performers and how to perform. And so this is a really important part of entertainment these days. And also, one of the things that I found a couple of years ago when I started looking into it, I had known about choreography and copyright, but I didn't know exactly how disrespected it was, or at least not recognized. I mean, it's been called the bastard stepchild of the arts, because people just don't think about choreography the same way they think about a painting or a novel. And meanwhile, it not only is a creative work, but it is also, it's so physically exhausting to do what Jaquel does. I'm glad sometimes that I'm at the keyboard rather than, performing all day. That has to be exhausting. So I really think that credit needs to be given where credit is due, and as does money, where compensation should flow to artists like Jaquel. And that's why I'm here, to try to protect him, to try to make it known to the industry that this is as important as those other forms of art and entertainment that are so widely recognized.
So, as you sort of mentioned, David, there is very little precedent for doing what you guys are doing, and the sort of realm of copyright as it relates to choreography is so young with relation to the rest of copyright. So once you decide that you're going to embark upon this, can you tell me a little bit about how you first decided to proceed, how you decided the Single Ladies would be the first work that you would try to register, and a little bit about how you kind of go about doing that at the Copyright Office?
Sure. I mean, as far as kind of why Single Ladies, might leave that to Jaquel. I mean, that was certainly, the subject of widespread recognition. I mean, I think he has it right over there. Is that the Moon Man, the little statue next to you, Jaquel?
Yes, it is.
Actually, you should probably hold it up. I don't know if I've ever seen it on camera, but that is the award, right, for the choreography that you did, and it is so iconic. Oh, I also didn't realize it was so far back, but that's really cool.
And Jaquel was what, 19 when he got that?
Yes, a little baby child dancing. No, but
So
Single Ladies was the first, because seeing where the trends were going virally, with dances and people on TikTok doing everything, and Epic Games. David has had a history with Epic Games, and they've been in the know about taking what's trendy and putting it on the game and making it really cool looking, without including us. So before that was even a thing, it was about how do we be a step ahead, for when this comes up.
And I mean, over the years, you've certainly seen Single Ladies in particular being appropriated, needless to say, by everyone from the Chipmunks to SNL and beyond, right?
And that's part of the reason why, I think that was first up. But I can tell you, you asked specifically about the Copyright Office, and, the same way Jaquel is kind of trailblazing as far as the business end, in terms of the legal end, you're exactly right, Rebecca. The Copyright Office sometimes struggles with some of the applications, and we see the Copyright Office sitting on things for a while. We see the Copyright Office confused, because there's certain things that are omitted from potential copyright protection in choreography, which are, for example, simple dance, social dance, and there's not a whole lot of case law, as you said. There's no guidance, and so there's particular pieces that we've fought with the Copyright Office over. Is that simple? Is that social? And in my view, if you have a work where there are a series of not only steps but bodily movements that are sufficiently complex, that's absolutely choreography. And what is the requisite length? It's a good question. We don't know. The courts haven't decided that. And so whether could it be 15 seconds? Maybe. Could it be, especially in the internet age? I mean, what is the difference between doing a lithograph or a quick sketch that's entitled to protection, and doing, a couple of, kind of seconds worth of dance that has so much as far as motion. One of the things we did in one of the cases, a different case, was we actually had enlisted the support of a copyright or a choreography expert, someone who teaches at NYU. And, she really kind of unveiled to me, she's like, look at all of the different motions. It's not just footwork. It's, the contortion of the body. It's the hand movement. There's so many pieces of it that I think, as kind of lay people, as far as, choreography and how it's done goes, most people don't realize how much of the body goes into it. And each one of those little differences in bodily movement is almost like a different musical note, right? And it's kind of analogous. You move your hand in a certain way. I mean, look at the iconic part of Single Ladies was the snapping. And that's something that 100 years ago might not have been recognized as a part of the choreography, but it is clearly part of that choreography. So it's something I think that there may be more cases in this realm. I mean, certainly if I have anything to do with it, because we do see infringement all the time, but also kind of working with the Copyright Office cooperatively. And one of the things that we're intending to do is meet with them and kind of educate them about how modern dance, especially in pop and hip hop, is done.
That's sort of incredible to think about. And Jaquel, I know that part of the registration copyright process for you was getting sort of a score of Single Ladies. So, the way that David referred to the movements almost like music notes, there is a form of dance notation that you can use to get an actual score of the whole piece. What was it like for you to see that and to kind of have to think about that?
I mean, that the score, the Leban notation for Single Ladies is pretty mind-blowing. In a sense, is a work of art. It's 45 pages of scoring. It looks like sheet music for a song, but it's all related to dance and movement. We went the extreme to make sure we were able to secure Single Ladies by presenting video, rehearsal footage of the choreography. That helped us get the Leban notation. And all of those pieces to the puzzle kind of help secure that copyright.
I actually have a quick story on that, on the score, so to speak, which is the Leban notation. This is another area that the Copyright Office, struggles with. So if you submit, and this has actually just happened, something crossed my desk this morning, if you submit essentially the score or the Leban notation of the movement, there are questions. When was this published? I mean, I've put stuff up on YouTube and otherwise published things, and then they wonder, well, why didn't you submit the original music video that used this? And if you do that, sometimes they'll reject the music video because they say, well, there's not enough choreography in the music video. So it's actually, I believe, the most complicated copyright registration that exists, because normally Copyright Office, you send them a work, they stamp it, and they give you the registration. I have to, on each work, often struggle. It's very strategic. It's not as simple as like, let's just find the Leban notation or find, a copy of the music video and upload it. It's a lot more strategic than that. And so it's been a struggle, but it's something that I think should be streamlined for the benefit of performers, because this should not require, an attorney kind of thinking about this, poring over every detail. This should be a lot more streamlined and accessible for other performers.
I mean, part of what I have found so fascinating learning about this through the two of you is that, the choreography that we see in a music video is not at all completely what someone like Jaquel has created. He's probably created a lot more that the artist has at their disposal to use for live performances and on tour, and he's not seeing back end of any of that. So that kind of leads me nicely into my next question, which is, once you secure this copyright registration, what is the practical application for you, Jaquel? What does owning this choreography mean for you, and kind of change how you do business going forward?
I mean, it's everything you just said, Rebecca. It's to change the scope of how choreographers are viewed, level up the respect level and put us on the same platform as our counterparts in the same industry. Is to put the power back into the artist, back into the choreographer's hand, so that we can also see a piece of the pie, and not just go and be, work for hires, and give our art away, but be able to see a piece of the labor as these big corporations come in to use our art for their gain, global gain, and make money, millions of dollars. This allows us to be a part of that, and also change the game for touring and how choreographers are perceived in that, right? So that, we can start the conversation of, is there a back end percentage that we can see a piece of? Like your choreographers on the Broadway show, they receive 3 to 5% of every show, regardless if they're working or not, they get a piece of that. And why is that not the same for our works as our tours and things go and travel the world?
And I should say, Jaquel is very modest, but he has been really revolutionary for himself as well as the industry. He thought about these things, maybe they were innate. I mean, some people just have a keen business, sense, and he's brilliant, really, in the fact that he had done things over a decade ago, when he was really young, that other performers may have been more afraid of. So he was really brave to stand up and say, no, I think it should be this way. And, so I think everyone should give him a lot of credit for that, because he had foresight, and now he, I think, is reaping the benefit of not only the recognition in the industry that he's as good as he is, but also that he's as good of a business person as he is. And, that's why it sort of makes my job and the rest on his team a little easy, because, as far as negotiations, those things are never easy. But given that Jaquel respects himself and respects the art, and it kind of demands the respect from the other side on the negotiation table.
So now that you have Single Ladies registered, I know I believe that's not the only piece you registered. Can you tell me a little bit about, since you achieved that, what other successes have you seen? What other progress have you been making? As Jaquel, you've said many times, you're not alone in this fight for ownership. And I definitely get the sense that there are other choreographers who want to follow your lead and want to, at the very least, educate themselves more about this. So what progress are you seeing so far, both of you?
I'll say, beyond the actual copywriting of the work, Single Ladies and the rest of my catalog, it's having this conversation, creating this dialogue for an industry where this has never been done before. Okay, that's pretty huge. So I feel like that's the biggest success. And, besides that, after all the work we've done, David and myself and my team working diligently from the ground up, this has pushed me to even launch, what we will know now as Night Choreography and Music Publishing, which will act the same way as your traditional music publishing company. It will go brokering deals, licensing deals, protecting IP for all iconic dances, past, present, and future. And, not just for my work, but again, for all choreographers out there across all genres, all mediums, a diverse range. And, so we can all feel protected and feel like we are onto something, feel like you want to go to work ready to create and know that you're going to be able to reap the benefits of.
Yeah, and that's really notable. I mean, that's a huge announcement. It's the first, choreography-centric publishing company, at least in this, in pop and hip hop, and I don't think it's limited to that at all. But this is something I'm excited to be a part of as well. I mean, certainly on the IP end, the protection of IP, but also on the deal end. And I think that is the success, not only the awareness, but also, I mean, Jaquel's had success, in terms of things that are confidential we can't talk about. But certainly, there have been points achieved. There have been, the back ends that were successful, and that's huge. I mean, and so I think it is just so big of Jaquel to think, well, this is not something I'm just going to keep for myself, but this is something I can help others. And this is something that I've certainly, reached out. I think Jaquel and I were on Clubhouse about a month ago. We were talking. I was so surprised how many choreographers poured into a room when we were talking about choreography and copyright. And so I've been trying to spread the word since really this, I think, struck a nerve of with the public as far as, what was taken by Epic and, the fight that we had to engage with them in. And what was actually pretty interesting is Epic now does approach a lot of people. Not everyone. I've heard about certain infringement that has happened where I'm scratching my head as to why Epic wouldn't just approach everybody. But I will say they have certainly been better than they were in the past. They're actually approaching artists. They're approaching people on TikTok. And so that's a first step. The next step is that those people should be, compensated fairly, as opposed to just compensated by throwing a few cents their way. And so, and that kind of goes back to the awareness, what these things, what the choreography is worth, what, the art is worth. And so I think this is just such a huge announcement, such an interesting announcement. And I'm happy to be a part of it. So go Jaquel.
Yes, go Jaquel is right. I mean, of course, there is the side of this that, if getting paid for things that you were not paid for before, I'm guessing it has not been a completely smooth road to get that message across to people in the industry. And I would love to hear a little bit about the challenges that you guys have faced as this news has broken, and especially as news of the publishing company comes out. What are you realizing is a little harder to work on in this respect, and what is going to represent success for you sort of as the next step of all of this happening?
I mean, again, it's going back to, this is a new conversation. This is completely new, where choreographers have never been in the conversation of, okay, we deserve a piece of the back end. Okay, we deserve a piece. We want to own it. And we want to license the choreography ourselves. This is all new conversation, Rebecca. And it's, right now, what we're facing is the programming of the mind of everyone from TV to labels to management, that, yes, this is hard, this is hard and it's a bit of a fight, but this is to protect the artist. And you want your artists to be able to come and work for you freely and happily every day so that your artists can thrive and be the biggest star in the world, just as your music producers are, just as your songwriters are, you want your choreographers to do the same. Because like you said at the top, the world has become a visual world. People are not saying, have you heard the record? They're saying, did you see the new Megan video? Did you see Single Ladies? Did you see that new dance craze on TikTok? So it's a different world now, which requires different standards and different practices. And for me, that's what's most important. So regardless of the challenges, is that we're here now, we're having the conversation, and it's about moving the needle forward and getting through the stage.
And certainly on that note, in terms of other forms of art, you think about, I think a lot of people have watched reality TV and seen, a picture sort of like what Jaquel has in the background, but blurred out, right? Because what that's really about is the producers or whoever is distributing whatever, certain people are trying to avoid potential infringement issues where they're reproducing a work, or they're not they're not licensed to a particular painting or something like that. And so there is certainly long time recognition of certain rights, but then when it comes to choreography, it's almost like free reign, and there's no respect. And so that's been a challenge. It's been a challenge to kind of convince the other side in negotiations that this is just as important as the other art forms. And really, in terms of the public and public opinion, there was certainly one article I remember reading, and I would say overwhelmingly, even with respect to the Epic suits, one of which we last year settled after a motion to dismiss, So, we've been very successful in terms of awareness, but remember the court of public opinion, this particular article said, was, very much in the favor of the artists, right? And so the only thing that I've sort of seen on the negative is sometimes you do see people who are suspect, like, well, now that a certain performer has, or a certain artist has the choreography, does that mean that they're going to shut down people dancing at clubs? I was like, no, that's not the point, right? The point is that when something is exploited commercially, that is when a performer or an author of the work deserves to get something for it, because it's not fair to be infringing or standing on someone else's shoulders where you don't deserve compensation, where you're collecting royalties off of YouTube or TikTok, but that's not your dance, or you're selling an emote that is not yours and you're relabeling. That's a problem. So it is re-education, but we're seeing tremendous success, and I'm just so glad to see how Jaquel has been doing in terms of his deals, in terms of his business, and we're going to continue that fight.
Well, what you guys are doing is certainly revolutionary in the industry, and congratulations on the publishing company, and good luck with everything you're doing going forward. And thanks so much for coming and chatting today.
Thank you so much, Rebecca.
Thank you, Rebecca. Again, if you want more information, sign up, go to kcmpublishing.co, put your email in, and let's start to change the world.
Yes. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Rebecca.